Unlocking the genetic secrets behind math skills beyond IQ is nothing short of groundbreaking. A recent study has uncovered 53 genetic markers that influence quantitative ability, our knack for understanding numbers and patterns, in ways that go beyond general intelligence. But here's where it gets controversial. These genetic factors are linked not just to brain function, but also to traits like sleep patterns and substance use, suggesting a complex web of influences that most people overlook. The study, published in Molecular Psychiatry, dives deep into the genetic foundations of math ability, separating it from general intelligence, often called G, and non-cognitive educational skills, referred to as non-cog. Using advanced genome-wide data analysis, the researchers identified specific genetic variants and biological pathways that uniquely contribute to quantitative skills. Why does this matter? Because math ability isn't just about IQ. It's about how our brains are wired to process numbers, change, and structure. This ability can open doors to certain academic paths, careers, and even boost confidence. Yet not everyone's comfort with numbers can be explained by general intelligence alone. By pinpointing the genetic factors specific to quantitative ability, educators and scientists can better understand how to tailor learning experiences to individual strengths. Interestingly, the study also found genetic links between math ability and traits like insomnia, chronotype, our natural sleep-wake cycle, smoking initiation, and alcohol use. This suggests that the genes influencing math skills might also play roles in broader behavioral and physiological traits. A connection that raises fascinating questions about how intertwined our biology really is. One standout discovery was a novel genetic variant, RS57394143, associated with math ability that also correlates with the size of the thalamus, a crucial brain relay center. This finding hints at how specific brain structures might influence our capacity for quantitative reasoning. The researchers used a sophisticated method called genomic structural equation modeling, genomic SEM, to analyze data from over 500,000 participants from 23andMe. They focused on two key indicators: self-reported math ability and the highest math class taken. By filtering out the genetic influences shared with general cognitive performance and educational attainment, they isolated a unique genetic factor tied specifically to quantitative skills. Their genome-wide association analysis revealed 53 significant single nucleotide polymorphisms, SNPs, with minimal confounding factors, indicating robust findings. One particularly intriguing SNP, RS1307325, in the SLC39A8 gene, showed opposite effects on the two math indicators, suggesting complex genetic influences that don't act uniformly. Looking beyond math, these genetic variants also overlapped with traits related to mental health, sleep, and substance use, and 16 of the identified loci were new to cognitive research. The quantitative ability factor showed no correlation with general scholastic ability, but was positively linked to careers in mathematics and programming, and negatively associated with vocations relying heavily on verbal persuasion, like writing or poetry. However, it's important to note these are genetic correlations, not deterministic predictions. The study also uncovered subtle relationships with psychiatric conditions. Negative correlations with ADHD, externalizing behaviors, neuroticism, major depression, and autism spectrum disorder. A slight positive link with schizophrenia, and a small positive association with dyslexia. These nuanced connections highlight the complex interplay between cognitive abilities and mental health. A surprising finding was the role of genes involved in mRNA splicing, the process by which cells edit genetic messages before making proteins. Genes like ZPF64 and FAM172A may influence how different protein variants affect quantitative ability, pointing to molecular mechanisms beyond just brain wiring. When the researchers tested polygenic scores, PGS, which estimate genetic predisposition, for the quantitative factor in an independent sample, they found it predicted arithmetic skills, but not reading or spelling. However, the effect size was very small, explaining less than 0.5% of the variance, underscoring that genetics is just one piece of the puzzle. Biological analyses showed that the genetic signals were enriched in central nervous system tissues, especially the cerebellar hemisphere and amygdala. Yet caution is advised in interpreting the amygdala's role, as further analysis suggested its influence might be less straightforward than initially thought. Gene prioritization highlighted processes involved in neuron projection development and synaptic function, with key genes like SEMA6D and EFNA5 playing roles in guiding nerve fibers. Other genes implicated glutamate receptor activity, essential for excitatory signaling in the brain. Notably, the quantitative ability factor showed almost no genetic correlation with overall brain volume, suggesting a specialized rather than general brain effect. In conclusion, this study provides compelling evidence that quantitative ability has a distinct genetic basis separate from general intelligence and non-cognitive skills. The identification of 53 genome-wide loci, minimal confounding, and enrichment in brain tissues supports the idea that specific neural mechanisms underlie math skills. The involvement of neuron development, synaptic components, mRNA splicing, and glutamatergic signaling paints a complex biological picture. But here's the catch. The predictive power of these genetic markers is currently very limited, and the study's authors caution against over-interpreting the results. The findings open exciting avenues for future research, but also raise important questions. For instance, how much do these genetic factors interact with environment and education? Could focusing too much on genetics risk overlooking the critical role of teaching and opportunity? What do you think? Are we on the brink of a new era where genetics can help personalize education? Or is this just another example of the complexity that makes human abilities so hard to pin down? Share your thoughts and join the conversation below. Reference: Gianellis, A., Willoughby, E.A., Edwards, T., McGew, M., Lee, J.J. A genetic common factor underlying self-reported math ability and highest math class taken. Molecular Psychiatry. DOI 10.1038/S41380-0237-0. Read the full study at https://www.nature.com articles/41380-25370.